the feedback was it was just too cumbersome. As Jay Wilson would love to say, this interface looks like a systems developer came up with it. It's just too much information all at once. Also, the bottom ended up being confusing. Initially, we had wanted to have varied lengths of time for how long an item would take to be crafted. Sometimes, I think at one point we kicked around like days. And again, on paper, that sounds awesome. Wow, this item's so awesome. It takes forever to make. Not so much when you're playing the game. So we go back to our first goal. Got to make it simple. So what we did was, as much as we liked having the imagery per item so you kind of knew what you were going to make, it caused too much space. So we simplified it into just a list of items. The queue is now just a progress bar behind that listing, and the bottom detail has all the requirements that you need. And any other information is on mouse over on the item listing so that it's also consistent with the way we convey information across the rest of the game. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Pete. So now that you know how to interact with them, you can see where you go to find them.
All right. So we knew early on we wanted to have a caravan that for the artisans to follow the player around through their quest. We knew we wanted them to be very different and have unique feels, unique shapes. So we came up with a caravan design theory for the visual design for the actual wagons themselves. We started with the blacksmith. We went with some blocky, aggressive shapes, thick woods, heavy metals to help accentuate the blacksmithery of the blacksmith. The mystic, we went with a lot of round organic shapes, some vibrant cloth, a lot of nature themes, so it felt completely different from the blacksmith. Then with the jeweler, some triangular shapes, some thin, warm woods to contrast with the blacksmith thick, beefy stuff, and some intricate, detailed bling. All right, so we knew we wanted to have these guys actually level up and progress, and we thought it would be way better to actually have their environment level up instead of just their wardrobe. So on the left side there, we have how you get the blacksmith. When you first get him in the game, he's very simple, low level, and as you level him up through the game, he gets better, and his cart obviously gets more exaggerated, more over the top. The themes get more and more prominent. The metals get stronger, the woods get thicker, and he gets more and more epic gear. So here is the Mystic, same thing. On the left side, this is a low level. We had a little bit of a tough time designing her early on because we knew we wanted her themes to be nature themes and vibrant cloths and round wood. But early on, her stuff looked very similar to the blacksmith because we wanted the wagon to feel really simple and really low level to begin with. So we decided to actually make the layout round, and I think that helped a lot to diversify them. And then here's the jeweler. The jeweler had a completely different problem because when you're thinking about a low level versus a high level, with the blacksmith, you can have very simple rusty daggers and tiny little buckler shields, and later levels you can just get crazy with giant flaming two-handed maces and just really epic stuff. It's very clear to see. And the same with the mystic, huge wands and stabs and lots of great big magic stuff. But the jeweler has these little tiny itty-bitty jewels and trinkets and all that stuff. And we can't make them too big, even in the late levels. So we actually ended up making the wagon itself much more opulent. And as it levels up, it gets a lot of like gold plating and a lot of just intricate details all over the actual wagon itself. Ready for the last, Jay?
Yep. Yeah, I'm ready. All right, everyone gets to level up in Diablo, even the vendors. So we posted this on the web a little while ago, but we like it so much, we're just show it again.
Boom.
All right. So later, we've only got a little bit of time for questions, but at 3 o'clock today on the main stage, we'll be doing a full hour of Q&A. So if you don't hear the question that you're hoping for, if you don't get to ask the one you want to, definitely come to that Q&A and we'll get it answered for you.
How are we doing on time?
Last BlizzCon, I asked you about gem wards by putting gems into armor with multiple sockets and getting a new effect, like moon wards in 10.0. And just wondering, at Gamescom, you said that you liked the idea and you'd write it down. I was just wondering, how is that progressing? Like, did you like that idea when you talked about it with your team?
Yeah, we've talked about it a little bit. But no, we haven't really progressed that much with it because right now we're focused pretty much on finishing out the artisans as they are. But it's still, it's still one of those things that we, whenever we hear a good idea we like, we have this big list of good ideas and we kind of stick them in there. So it's still there, but no, we haven't been able to spend much time on it yet.
Thank you.
Hey guys, my name's Jeff from Montreal. So I'm a big World of Warcraft player. I love the customizability of the UI. I was wondering how much of the UI is customizable within Diablo 3.
I'm sorry to disappoint you, sir. There will be no customizing of the UI in Diablo 3.
There's a very good reason for that, though. Jay, you want to handle that?
I'm sorry?
There's a very good reason for that.
Yeah, I mean, UI and customization mods in general are awesome. Like, we love it, but the problem that World of Warcraft had was their game got shifted by the whole mod community. And really for them, that was fine. That was their expectation. That's what they wanted. But for us, what we don't want is for Diablo to be shifted from the straightforward, simple, easy-to-play game that it is to a much more complex game, because that's what UI mods do. They add complexity. And at a certain point, they become a requirement. So we never wanted that for Diablo.
Hi, guys. First, thanks for creating this awesome game. We're really looking forward to it. My question's kind of a half question. Single player versus multiplayer, when your friends come in and you have the vendors and they level up, let's say you have a level 2 or 3 blacksmith and my blacksmith is only level 1, will that transpose over or will my vendor still be level 1?
So our intent right now is we worked a lot on how we were going to do this, and we played with it a lot, and we had all kinds of crazy ideas, like we'd have a multi-town that everybody's vendors would show up in. What we've learned is that people generally just want to see their own vendor and access their own vendor, and if there's some benefit that like a friend has, that generally they'll just give those things to you, like, oh, here's a cool sword that my vendor has, here it is. Or, hey, give me your sword and I'll enchant it for you. So we've found that being able to just see your own vendor has been the best way to go. Now, as we continue to play the game, if we come up with a different solution or if we find people are wanting to play it differently, then we can change it pretty easily.
And then on that, the PvP, are we still going to be able to access those vendors in the PvP world versus single player?
Well,
Has that been decided?
Our PvP game is completely separated from the PvE game. So it's only there's not a grand world. There's the arenas where people go and fight. And we did that intentionally because we don't want PvP game balance to ever dictate PvE game balance. It's all about co-op and monster killing for us. We never want to nerf a skill because it's too powerful in PvP. So in general, when you go into PvP, all your skills are going to do what you think they should do, but they may be tweaked a little bit so that they'll be balanced for PvP and then return to normal back into PvE.
Thank you.
Hi guys, how's it going? Hey, I love Diablo. My question is basically when you play through the game on Diablo 2 and you get all your awesome gear and you look just fantastic at the first playthrough, when you go back through Nightmare, unfortunately, you have to ditch all your great gear for the piddly-looking hatchet and all the lame helms and stuff. So in Diablo 3, will you get to maintain your look, or do you have to go back to using the not-so-great-looking gear?
Oh, we got good news for you. So yeah, in Diablo 2, the gear reset. Look, in Diablo 3, it does not. The gear, there's 18 like tiers. And tiers is not. I mean, it's a term that we use. It doesn't actually mean the same thing that it does on World of Warcraft, but it's just an easy term for us. But there's basically 18 tiers. There was more like about 6 to 8 in D2, and then they just repeated them. So those go between normal, nightmare, and hell. So you just get progressively better looking throughout the game.
Thanks.
Letting everyone know, we have time for a few more questions. In case you don't have time to ask a question, we will have Diablo 3 open Q&A at 3 p.m. at the main stage.
Hey guys, my question's about the dyes. You said that you acquire rare dyes and everything. If I use a dye at the beginning of the game and I ditch that armor for a different armor, will that colored dye get planted onto the new armor that I used?
So no, it won't. And part of the reason for that is we want to make sure that there are always, there's always a reason to look for more. Like if you found one black dye and then never needed it again, that would kind of make it not that interesting next time it dropped. But it's not just that you don't just dye one part of your armor. It's important to note that you can dye your pants different from your jacket, different, you can dye a lot of different pieces of armor. So you will need to, if you acquire a new armor, you'll need to dye that again. But we haven't determined like quite the rarity where the sweet spot is. We need to make sure that black dye is really cool and you look different, or red dye when you have that on there. But we don't want to make it punishing. I should also add that there are sort of, in some cases there are diet versions of the cool color, like there's a really awesome red and there's like a pretty good red. And the pretty good red is not that hard to come by. So you can kind of say like, hey, it's a nice red jacket you got there, buddy. It's not as cool as mine, but it's pretty cool. So that's how it works.
Thank you.
Hi, so my question is, you've said repeatedly that one of your goals for Diablo 3 is to design so your character feels more awesome, more powerful. And I was wondering, in Diablo 1, it was the opposite. Your character felt very frail and always threatened when you're going through the dungeon. So why did you make that decision? Is there going to be anything in Diablo 3 that will make you feel like that? And what would you say to players who want that?
Oh, we're going to kick the crap out of you. Don't worry about that. I know when we show the builds, like we're showing very early parts of the game and it's normal difficulty, and everybody remembers Diablo 2, the normal difficulty was pretty easy. We're really trying to hit a sweet space between the original Diablo and Diablo 2. It was great that Diablo 2 was very approachable early on, and that's the game that we want. But the original Diablo, was terrifying, and that was great too. So as you progress through the difficulties, the game's going to become increasingly harder, and a lot of the things that we're putting into the game, like the changes to the health mechanics and the addition of the hotbar, a lot of these are so we can actually make monsters more threatening to you. In Diablo 2, if you could just potion spam and town portal away from every threat, you actually never felt that threatened. So that's why we're trying to fix all those issues in Diablo 3, so that when you go into hell difficulty, you're terrified. So definitely, you don't need to worry about that.
Thank you. Just letting everyone know, we have time for one more question.
Regarding, say, a Diablo 3 Collector's Edition, what would be an exclusive in it? Like a slight different look to an armor set, or what?
We haven't talked about the Collector's Edition yet, so I'm not sure what would be in it. Something cool, I'm sure. But yeah, we haven't talked about it at all, actually.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That is all the time that we have today. Please give a round of applause for our Diablo 3 development team. Thanks. Join us next on the main stage for WoW Class question